This is the 3-step DM framework that has helped me book 10 plus calls every single week as a setter, all while not having to be super pushy or super salesy to talking to hundreds of people to just try and book one call. And so if you're finding that it's hard to get people to open up to you in the DMs, or just opening their mind to having a conversation on a call about your services and whatnot, then these 3 steps will actually help you a lot, because they've changed the game for me and allowed me to connect a lot more easier with these people, with all these random strangers online who are interested in your services, and allowed me to actually guide those conversations into booking a call. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name's Gian. Appointment setting pretty much helped me double my income twice in my life in over 2 years, because from opening up as an appointment setter, it already doubled my income. Then I was able to learn a lot more skills from there, because it's what I call a gateway skill. It opens the door for a lot of other things as well. And it's just changed my life. And these are some things that have changed my life and helped me really succeed in this position. So I'm here to help you as much as I can. So basically, the 3-step framework is what I like to call the 3 R's. And that is resonating with somebody, reciprocating with them, and then responding to them. Now, I'll dive into what each one of those specifically means and how you can actually practice this in your own conversations. But let me just give you the whole overview. The main reason why this helps out a lot, at least for me in my setting conversations, is because too many times it can be like an interview, right? You have so many questions that you need to ask them in order to qualify them, in order to understand like why are they actually interested in what you have, like what's their situation, what's their problem and everything. And oftentimes it just becomes question, they give an answer, okay, next question, they gave an answer, which isn't really a conversation. It feels like they're being interviewed. And oftentimes, whenever you have a conversation just like that, it makes the chance of you being left on red so much higher than if it was actually having a conversation. And the reason why these 3 actually work is because when you're actually talking to these people, you're making sure that they feel understood, they feel heard from you, and you're understanding like what they are specifically actually going through, and then guiding the conversation towards the intended route that you want them to have. So that actually leads me to the first thing, which is resonate. And this is pretty much where you just acknowledge or agree, or just pretty much helping the other person understand like, hey, that you understood what they said. And this is similar for when you're having a conversation with somebody. Let's say imagine we're having a conversation face to face, and you're explaining to me all about your life, the problems that you may be having, or the things that you want to solve desperately in your life. And I'm over here, if I'm just silent, right, just looking at you, dead face, not doing anything, and you're explaining this all to me, you're gonna probably ask me like, hey, but did you hear me? Like, are you listening? Because I'm not giving you any cues on whether or not I actually heard you or I'm understanding you. I'm just giving you dead face at that point. And the most part, people often feel confused and they feel like, oh, this person's not really listening to me. Like, why should I continue this conversation? And the thing is, with face-to-face conversations and even with phone conversations, you can give audio cues and visual cues. Visual cues for me is pretty much I'm nodding my head. I'm tilting my head. I'm like, nodding and showing you that I'm paying attention to what you're saying. And audio cues would pretty much just be like, oh, okay, I got you. I got you. And that happens when you're over on the phone. But how do you actually do that through text? Which is kind of difficult because you can't really just send voice memos that would be like, I got you, and then kind of moving on. So here's the easiest way that you can actually do that, is simply by saying, okay, I got you, before you mention anything else. When they mention something about their problem, when they mention something that they're looking for, something that they've been struggling with, okay, I got you. Man, that's really been hard. I could definitely see that. You're relating to them a little bit, and you're helping them understand, that you are understanding what they said. Because without that kind of key detail, most people would just feel like they're talking to a brick wall who just wants their agenda being accomplished in a conversation. And I don't know if you've had any kind of conversation with somebody who is blatantly pretty pushy and salesy, who is just like not really listening to what you said, but always just thinking of the next thing that they're going to say. That is just not an entertaining conversation, and it's not a conversation people would really want to have. And so in the DMs, it's much more so. And you have to make the extra effort in order to communicate that, especially through text, because there's a lot less cues that you can actually get from there. So the way you resonate is pretty much simply saying, okay, I got you. Whatever kind of makes sense in that situation for what they said, to help them understand that you acknowledge what they meant and you understand what they meant. And that actually leads me to the second part, which is reciprocate. And this is pretty much where you more or less repeat back what they said to you to make sure that you cement the understanding of like, hey, I understand and I heard what you meant. So, for instance, this can happen in a conversation, and this is something that I see the best communicators actually do, whether it's in sales calls, whether it's just communicating with other people as well. It's the fact that they're actively listening, but the reason why you can hear that they're actively listening is because after you're done saying what you said, they go ahead and ask you, okay, so just to make sure I got this right. So it seems like this is happening and that's happening. That seems really tough for you. Is that right? And that's just more in a conversational tone. And that helps you understand like, okay, he heard exactly what I meant. Yes, that's exactly what I meant. And then that now prompts the other person who's actually talking to him to then be able to like, okay, since now I know this, what about this? That leads to the next question. And this is the kind of like the magic, I guess you say, with reciprocating, is because it does two things in one. The first thing it does, it helps the other person understand that you're letting them know that you understand what they're talking about by relating to them, by repeating back what they said. Let's say, for instance, this is an example that I can bring because I've worked with a personal finance company. So someone can say like, hey, I'm struggling with a lot of debt. I've tried a lot of different things, and my debt has been up to $50,000, right? And it's been stuck there for a couple years. Acknowledge, oh dang, that sounds hard, man. I appreciate the honesty. And then reciprocating, yeah, I mean, that sounds really tough. I mean, having that being stuck at $50,000 for a couple years, I imagine that's pretty frustrating. Now that's the first thing, where you're helping them understand that you understood what they said. And that's the main key thing. Then the second thing that I actually do, it actually leads up to the third thing, which is setting up the next question. The next thing you do in this whole cycle is called responding. And so when you respond, this is pretty much just guiding the conversation towards the next thing that you're going to talk about in a way that it actually makes sense of what you're talking about. So going back to the example that I was mentioning before, this person's telling me that they have $50,000 in debt. It's been stuck in there for about 5 years or so, let's say. And so I'm like, oh, shoot, like that sounds really hard. I'm sorry to hear that, dude. I mean, it must be pretty frustrating, like being stuck at $50,000 for 5 years. Well, then leading to the response, okay, since it's been stuck for 5 years, what are some of the things that you've been doing in order to take care of the debt or pay it off? Like, do you have a plan or anything else like that? I don't know if you caught that, but when I reciprocated, it also gave me kind of a layup to actually asking the question, because I'm letting them know I understand their situation. And because I understand the situation, there's also a question I need to know in order to see like what's really going on, right? Because they said they've been stuck at a certain place for who knows how long. Now, the next logical question is to be, hey, have you actually put a plan in place and whatnot? Now, I could actually do this. They tell me that they've been stuck at $50,000 in debt for 5 years. And then I immediately, instead of acknowledging what they said, instead of reciprocating, I just go straight to the question. It was like, okay, got you. So do you have a plan, like when it comes to paying off your debt? Now, sure, that may work for a lot of people, right? But when it comes to text, it can seem kind of short because you're just going straight for the other question rather than letting them know like, hey, I understand this must be really frustrating, which allows that kind of emotional connection with them, because people will never allow themselves to be sold to, and they don't like people selling to them unless they feel understood and cared for. And so the only way that you actually provide them with the understanding and caring through this is really because you actually go through these 3 steps. You actually go through the effort of like, hey, I understand what you did. I understand that this might be really hard. That is really frustrating at the end of the day. Now, because it's been for so long, like you mentioned, what about this? And that's the whole cycle of when it comes to these 3 R's. It really helps you get to the primary needs of every single person in the conversation. Because I imagine for you in this video, and even for me in any kind of conversation I have, the main primary need that I have with, let's say, the conversation I have with my fiance is I want to be heard and I want to be understood. And once those 2 are met, then I can listen to the other person. Because I know she heard me. She understood what I meant, and then we can kind of talk about like what our next steps look like. And that's how you do this through DM messages. You just follow this framework, and it's going to look different for every kind of conversation. Sometimes the reciprocate might not be as long, in all honesty, because maybe it's just like here's a fact. Okay, got you. Then that results in the next question, more of that kind of thing. But in the main sense of like, you want to keep this kind of framework in all of these different conversations, in every single section of every conversation. And now, going through each and every single question that you need to find out in a starting conversation, that's a different story for another day, which I would definitely talk about. But just going through these 3 R's really help you have a personal connection with every single person that you're talking to, and helping them achieve the 2 main things that they need from you in order to actually trust you, which is you're helping them understand that you hear them and you understand their problem. And once you hear them and understand their problem, then they are much more likely to be excited to solving this problem with you, to hopping on a call with you to discuss more further details, and possibly even buying your product. And it kind of hypes them up to actually being there. Because at the end of the day, if you're just a bot, literally, like either you just use AI, which can be good sometimes, at least nowadays, or you just use DM responses like ManyChat at the end of the day, it's not really creating that personal connection. It's not really, because they know it's a robot, or they feel like it's a bot, because it doesn't have that personal connection. And that's what most people are missing nowadays. And especially when it comes to coaches, and especially when it comes to one-on-one services like that. Those things are necessary because they're looking for a one-on-one connection with somebody who actually knows what they're doing. And so if you can't even display that inside of the DMs, then you have a major problem. There's going to be lots of people who will leave you on red, and you're just like, oh, I mean, they seem like a bot, and like this person couldn't even talk to me in the DMs. And the thing is, the business owner doesn't necessarily have to talk to them in DMs. He can be a setter, but they have to know what they're doing in order to talk like a human. Because one of the major problems that I see whenever, because even I had this problem, which is really, I'm thinking so hard on how to make myself sound like a human and trying to go through this whole process of taking them to a book call where I become more robotic, because I'm just only focused on the sole goal of like, what's my next question I'm going to ask? Where can I take this, rather than what is this person actually saying? How can I understand this better? How can I tie this into the next question that's going to go through and actually help me understand a little bit more of the situation so that I can qualify them and book them for a call? Then one of the last things, that the reason why this actually works is because it actually keeps the conversation flow going. Not in the sense of like just conversating to conversate, but actually conversating in intentionality. And that intentionality is actually bringing you forward towards booking a call, because the conversation flows. You're understanding each other. You're actually having a genuine conversation with the other person. You both are understanding each other. You guys may have some questions and whatnot, but like all conversations happen, they happen flow. Like there's a flow to it. There's like, oh, I'm genuinely curious about this. Oh, I'm genuinely curious about this. What about this? What about that? And you, as a setter who knows what they're doing, can actually then guide this conversation, because you're like, okay, because I want to understand like this specific thing. You ask for a specific thing, they give you a specific answer. You're like, okay, based on this specific thing that you just said, it sounds like this may be a problem. So let me ask, is this actually a problem? Because you're guiding the conversation. You're taking their wide array of answers that they could possibly give you, and you're like, okay, let's slowly move in this direction. Let's slowly guide them to wherever they need to be. And you could think of this whole framework as kind of like a cycle, where first, obviously in every single message that you kind of get, you resonate, then you reciprocate, then you respond. And then it turns into a cycle where every single message that you do get, you try and follow this framework and this formula. And obviously it'll look different for every message, like I mentioned before. But the thing is, you got to keep in the cycle, because this keeps you human. This keeps the conversation going, and this keeps the conversation so that you can genuinely connect with people. And that's what most people are missing. That's the 3 R's that have helped me booked 10 plus calls every single week as a setter, that have helped me so much, and helped even have helped even the setters that I've trained on our team as well, that have been absolutely amazing. And honestly, like when our setters do get this and they finally understand this and they finally kind of ingrain this to how they're speaking, book calls happen like that, where it's easy. It's not hard anymore, where it's not draining anymore. It's just like, okay, like I'm genuinely talking to these people, and it's fun. You can have fun with it, because once it becomes part of who you are and part of how you speak, then you actually effectively know how to communicate with other people. And that's a really great thing. And listen, if you want to learn more about how I even got into this space, or what even appointment setting is. Let's kind of deep dive into it. Even some of the frameworks that I do use on an everyday basis that actually help me get to this place. I do have a free course that's just kind of going over my whole story and all those different frameworks to actually help you kind of have a leg up as well, and how to practice this too. And so I'll have that in the link below. All you need is your email. That is purely simple because I just want to add value to you as best I can. I know in prior videos I said I wanted to have something. I do have something now. So that's great. And so I care about you. I love you. Thank you for tuning in the video and whatnot. And I hope this framework really helped you out a lot. And I wish the best for all of you. So see you next week.